Hey there everybody, welcome back. This is Explore Travel TV and I'm David L. Peters. This video is actually a little seminar that was at the Los Angeles Travel and Adventure Show here in 2020. And it's about travel blogging and travel vlogging and what it's like to be a travel blogger. Pros and cons and some challenges. And these ladies did a great job. Matter of fact, my friend Monica from Monica Goes is one of the panelists. So they talk about some great stuff if you're interested in becoming a travel blogger or even what it's like to be one. Take a look, watch the video. I was able to record this for them and now it's about 40 minutes long, so I'm going to jump right into it. I appreciate it. If you watch the whole thing, there's some great nuggets and great pieces of information all the way to the end. So get on it, let's go find out what it's like to be a travel blogger.
How's everyone doing today? Good, good. Thank you for the applause. Yes, you have started us off because we're going to do a lot of applause today. My name is Beth Santos and I'm founder and CEO of a company called Wanderful, which is an international network of women who love to travel. But we also have really gotten into the blogging space because we run a conference called WITS, the Women in Travel Summit. Has anyone heard of WITS before? Some people, oh yeah, good, we've got some WITS supporters, awesome, nice to have you all here. So WITS is, it started as a community of women, now we have men as well. We talk about issues in the travel industry, we talk about how to build influence as creators in this space, and we've really built an incredible network of creators all around the world. And so today, we're gonna talk a little bit about how to get that start. So everyone in the audience, there's a couple things I wanna know from you. First of all, how many of you are thinking of starting a travel blog? And that's why you're coming. Okay, good, 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 awesome, awesome, welcome. And how many of you already have a travel blog? And have, okay, so you're looking to maybe build some more tips, get some more ideas. And how many of you are like, I don't even know what a travel blog is, but I just showed up? Okay, awesome. No, there are always a couple of you. Yes, and that's great. And we're gonna have a lot of opportunity to learn, we'll ask questions. I will ask some questions of our amazing panel here, but you all will have some time to ask questions too to really get those answered because we wanna make this as helpful to you. But the first thing I wanna do is teach you the first lesson of influence. And the first lesson of influence is getting everybody else to feel the magical feeling of FOMO. So I'm gonna give you all a really fun exercise. At the count of 3, I want you to applause like you've never applauded before in your whole entire life. I want the wildest, most excited applause, and I promise you, everyone around in this immediate area will turn and be like, what's going on? And we'll get a few more people to come on in here. So, ready? Let's do that. First lesson of influence. 1, 2, 3, let's hear it! Thank you all for being here today. We are so excited to teach you more about really getting that blog off and really getting a kickstart. I'm glad that you're here. I want to introduce our incredible panelists. They are women who have built businesses from the ground up, growing their own blogs and really their own companies. And I'm gonna let them tell their story. So do you guys wanna just take a minute and one at a time, tell us a little bit about who you are, the company or the blog that you've started, and just a bit about your journey that brings you here today.
Is this working? How about now? Yeah. Good? Okay, good. So my name is Naila Hayward and I am a
Speak with purpose.
Is that better? Awesome. Okay. My name is Naila Hayward and I run a blog called There's So Much to See. And I am just someone who's always been passionate about travel. From the time I was a child, it was mostly through reading and books and that's better. A mother who loved travel and music and everything about the world. So when I got a chance to go and travel as a college student and went to Japan, study Japanese, and the minute I got off the plane, I'm like, this is where I want to be, somewhere out in the world, seeing the world. So that's been a part of my life. And I started a blog really just as a way to capture my thoughts and share things that originally was like, hey, my mom will read it and maybe one friend. And then it got to grow a little bit more. I started to share, have more photography and Instagram and influencing. So that's kind of how I got started. I started in 2009, I believe, and just kept it going now. So it's
You're like a grandmother in the travel blogging land.
Excuse me. My grades are covered.
You don't talk about age here, but
yeah, exactly. So that's me and that's my story. I'll pass it on to Monica.
All right, so I'm Monica. I definitely come from a different side of things. So does anybody here do video? okay, we got some video people. So I actually started, I didn't know about the blogging world or vlogging world or any of that. I was a host and an MC and an actress, and I took a hosting class, and I had a teacher tell me to basically create my dream show and put it online as a way to get auditions. And so for me, I love outdoor adventure and quickly realized I'm afraid of everything. So I started my show Monica Goes to put myself through these scary situations to show people that if I could do it, they could as well. And I wanted to show that adventure doesn't have to be all the way across the world. So I do a lot of US travel, a lot of like whitewater rafting and rappelling, like scary stuff for me that is an extreme for a lot of people, just to show people that an everyday average person like me can do it, so anybody can. And I do have a blog as well, but it's mostly the video side of things, and I've been doing it since 2015. Yeah, 2015. I have 85 episodes now, so yeah, that's my little story.
This is like the nicest audience. I just want you to know, Chicago and Boston did not applause after like so you're the best. You were already my favorite. Go ahead, Karisma.
Hey guys, my name is Karisma, and I'm here from Los Angeles, and obviously I have a really loud voice. So again, we all have different stories. I started my journey in blogging on Instagram, and it really happened by fluke because I had joined a network marketing company that had this really cool travel club, and all I was doing was sharing my adventures that I was having. And by accident, it grew a following on Instagram. And then I was at a travel show, which was here 6 years ago, and I met someone from Wanderful. So I showed up at their WITS that was happening and turned my passion into travel into something that was monetized using social media and blogging.
Love it. Yeah. Now that I said that, you almost have to applaud. So, great. No, and I love this panel because you all have come from completely different parts of what we call the blogging or the creation world. And I want to talk a little bit about language because I think that's really important in this space. We oftentimes use different words. So we'll say blogger, we'll say influencer, we'll say creator, we'll say vlogger. And we're kind of throwing them back and forth. And I was curious for all of you, like, how do you define yourselves? Do you have a favorite word that you use and why?
I would say for me, probably being truest to who I am and what I do as a blogger. I do mostly through writing and some photography on my blog and then sharing through social media. But I would say overall, consider myself more of a blogger. But I think all the different titles, you'll have people say, oh, I'm an influencer. Someone else say, well, what do you mean by influencer? What does that really mean? So it's kind of how you define yourself. And for me, most of my communication goes through the written word. So I will say more of a blogger for myself.
So this is actually a big struggle of mine because I hate these words. I just, like, influencer, to me, it has such a bad rap. It has such a connotation around it. The truth is we are influencing people, and the goal is to get people to travel where we're going, but that word can be mixed. And I don't like vlog either because my goal was I wanted to host a show, kind of like a travel channel style. So I started calling myself a travel channel, like a travel host, but nobody knew what that was. They're like, are you hosting trips? Do you work at a restaurant? I don't really know. So I have tried to embrace those. I've done video content creator, but at the end of the day, it really does come down to what people are searching for. And I started talking to tourism boards, and nobody's looking for a travel host. They're looking for travel influencers. They're looking for vlogger and blogger. So I'm just starting to embrace those words and try to kind of change the mentality and show that, like, influencer isn't the stereotypical negative side of things that we see. It can actually be people who influence. So starting to call myself a travel influencer and vlogger, but I struggle with those words.
So I use the word digital content creator because that's what I do. I create content. I write, I do photography, I do videography, and through those mediums, I influence people to do what I love to do, which is to travel the world.
Yeah. Karisma's going to give great answers every time. Yeah.
She wins.
And Karisma win. You win, girl. And actually, Monica, you raised a very good point too, which is like, has anyone heard the negative implications of the word influencer? Somebody's like, oh, I don't want to work with an influencer. Yeah, like, right. We hear that so much, right? Oh, I don't, influencers are not real, or they're just trying to sell something or whatever. And I'm curious from all of you too, like, what has been, because in my opinion, when you start a content-based platform, whether you are, a creator, whether you are a blogger, the whole purpose of what you're doing is to have an authentic voice, right? To represent who you are, what your perspectives are, and to speak in an authentic way to an audience. And tell me, like, how do you feel about what your role is in this, and at what point does it become, like, has that negative term of influencer started to take over, and what are the essential nuggets that we should be keeping in mind for those of us who are really thinking about going into this space?
I think for me, I didn't want a vlog because I didn't want it to be about me and my vacation. I didn't want selfie style videos. There's nothing wrong with those, they're entertaining. But I genuinely wanted to create a show that people watched and said, okay, I want to go to this place, or I want to do that adventure because she did. So I put myself as a host, so it's not about me, it's about the destination. I'm just the physical person there doing it, showing people how, and showing people where to go and what to do. So I work with a lot of tourism boards, and that's kind of been my way of staying as a host and keeping it about the destination. But in terms of words, it's whatever you own for yourself. Like Naila said, like, if you want to be a vlogger and do selfie style, honestly, they do better online. They really do, because people find those entertaining. But if you want to be an influencer and inspire people to go, then it has to be about the destination or the adventure, as well as what's happening to you personally. But there needs to be a little bit of both, I think.
I focus on just being authentic to what it is that I love to do, because I realize that if it inspires me to do what I want to do, there's going to be these Me Too moments. And that really came to light when I was in the grocery store one day with my son and a friend. So my girlfriend's an actress, and we're walking through the cash register, and this lady goes, I know you from somewhere. And I was like, me? And she was like, yeah. She goes, are you an actress or something? And I was like, no, not at all. My friend goes, I'm an actress. And she goes, no. She goes, I know you from somewhere. And so I'm trying to pay and get out of there. And then she looks up and she goes, are you gotta have charisma? My son turns and he goes, oh man, you too? So she turned and I was like, yeah, that's actually my Instagram. She goes, I wake up every day and I look to your Instagram because you inspire me through your travels, through your positivity. And she goes, and I actually watched your son grow up over the last couple of years, and wow, he's much taller in person. So to me, if I stay authentic to the things that I love to do, whether I'm getting paid to do it or not, I share my experiences wherever I'm going with the world.
And just, I think, to kind of off of what these two are also saying, is just that there's no shortage of travel blogs out there or travel videos. There's thousands, right? So they all speak to somebody in a certain way. Maybe some of them speak to 100 people, maybe some speak to 10,000 people. But your voice is going to be heard by somebody who resonates with you, or you resonate with them. So just, speaking from your heart and your mind, whether it's through a video, through a written word, and there's going to be someone out there who shares that interest with you. So being that voice of that person.
Well, and that's a great segue into, a lot of people have come here looking for tips. And Naila, when you started your blog, you said that was 2009. I started our blog in 2009. The blogging world has changed a lot from 2009 to where it is today. And I'm curious for, what are the changes that you've seen? And also, if somebody were to come up to you today and say, I really want to start a blog, or I'm not going to say vlog, some form, I want to build a presence as a creator. What would be your first recommendation for them to think about or to do? So how has it changed, and what would your recommendations be for people trying to get into the space now?
I would say for a change, I think it's become more of a business. I think, 10 years ago or so, people were starting, it could have been a hobby, it could have been something you just want to do. I feel like now more people are getting into it starting looking at how am I going to make a business out of this? Can it be my 9 to 5, my full-time job, support me? Some people it will be, not everybody, right? So I think that's one thing that's changed. What would I do differently, or what is different today? And people are kind of writing more of how, if it is your business, how are you going to get your name out there? As I mentioned, there are thousands of blogs out there. There's no shortage. So how do you become that name people see? So it's focusing on things like, what are people looking at? How can you make a name for yourself? What is your niche? What can make you you? And what's going to make someone want to read you and support you and follow you somewhere, whether it's in person or online? And getting to know a little bit about SEO and how you can get your name out there. You can write the best article in the world, but if the Googles of the world can't find you, it's going to be hard to get your name out there. And then lastly, do something you're passionate about. If this is something you're only going to be interested in for a month and the next month it's going to be something different, it's going to be hard to sustain that, right? So if this is something you're really interested in, whether it's a specific type of travel or a specific place or reaching out to everybody, think about what impassions you and how can you use that to carry on.
And for anyone who doesn't know what SEO means, can you just explain that a little bit? No, just in case,
SEO, search engine optimization, so making sure that anything you do, your content is discoverable by the Googles of the world, so people can find you.
I definitely agree that people look at blogs and vlogs as a way to quit their job and travel the world, and I think the number one question is how do I make money at this? And the truth is you do have to be passionate about it because it's gonna take a while. But in terms of video, I think the biggest thing that's changed is, obviously quantity, but quality too. And I don't know that I would have started this with the intention of what it is, because again, I was doing it to get auditions and not thinking of it as a show yet. Just because I'd be intimidated, because there's so many incredible videos out there. You see these epic drone shots and everything like that. So my biggest tip for people that want to get started is to honestly just do it. I didn't know how to edit. I didn't know how to shoot. I just knew that I love doing these outdoor adventures and wanted to inspire other people to do that as well, and just started filming myself. And over time, the quality's gotten better. Over time, I got the drone and the good camera, but if you just look at that stuff, it's going to be really easy to talk yourself out of ever trying video or ever trying to write a blog, because there's so many out there. You just got to do it and come from a place that's passionate, and you'll find out really quickly how passionate you are about it if you want to keep doing it and turn it into a business, or if you want to keep it as a hobby, which is great too. But I would say just do what you're passionate about, stay in your lane, learn what you can, but don't let it intimidate you or talk you out of trying those things.
I'm going to piggyback off of her. Get started, do it now, and don't procrastinate, because I was so scared to venture off into video because I was looking at all these videos and I wanted it to be perfect before it went out. So my first video, I put it up there and I edited it myself, and I literally had 20 times more engagements than I had any of my photos, and it was a crappy video. And I realized that it didn't matter how good it was, they wanted to see the content, and each time I did more content, I learned just a little bit more. And then something else that I realized that I wish I would have known then was to create yourself a network and get involved with other people that are doing it along with you, because it'll keep you motivated, you'll learn from them, you guys will network and collaborate with one another, because it is so much easier to say, hey, let's do something together, and then we can build off of each other's networks, and her community that is into what I'm doing comes and follows me, versus growing little by little just by yourself.
And because, I was just what was I going to ask you? So you just mentioned this is finding your network, and usually I ask this question later, but because we're on it now, is LA a good city to be a creator? And if so, where would you recommend people go? What are the groups they should tap into? What are the resources that LA has to offer?
I think LA is the best place to be a creator. Everybody here is either on camera if you don't want to be the on-camera person, or they work behind camera. So, you can definitely find those people for sure. Bloggers, there's a million people writing and doing creative things out here. I spent the first 3 years not knowing this world existed and doing it on my own, and that's probably my biggest regret, is that I didn't reach out and find a network sooner. And now I go to Travel Massive meetups. There's a really good Travel Massive group. We all met up here earlier. There's a Travel Talk and Travel Talk Live. Mike Scheibel has a podcast, but then he does these Travel Talk Lives, and we all get together. And these are crazy inspiring people. Some of them have hundreds of thousands of followers, and you're just grabbing a drink and chatting with them about their adventures. It's the coolest thing in the world. Obviously, Wanderful has an amazing community. Going to conferences like Women in Travel Summit and TBEX, it's just the best way to meet people, and it kind of helps, well, it helps you learn, but it also helps you realize you're not alone in this weird process that is not easy. So it's good to find those people.
I definitely agree. I think it's really great here. I know when I first started my blog, not long after, I met up with another person who was a blogger, and we went and had a coffee somewhere or something, and she ended up telling me some information about an organization I can be a part of, or she shared some paraphernalia, some documentation she had, and I thought, wow, I thought this is going to be really very competitive, cutthroat. Like, I'm not going to tell you anything because it's going to take away from my readers and my information, and it was so not like that. And that was the first person, and then it seems like almost every person I've met through the community has been so supportive. There's not like, they don't feel, it's not a community of lack or of need, like, oh, there's only 2 people out there. Like, there's so much, and everyone's willing to share. So your ideas, you share your ideas, I share with you, and those things grow and flower. So I think I feel like you've mentioned Travel Massive, Travel Talk with Meaning, the local Wanderful chapter, which Karisma and I lead. There's lots of places to get out there and share your ideas, and I think it's really a beautiful thing.
Sorry, can I add on something quick?
I just want to add on something really quick. Because I come from like acting world, and then I did music for a long time, those are cutthroat. And yes, there's good people in those industries too, but they can be very cutthroat. And the travel community is unlike anything I've ever experienced. Like you were saying, everybody shares everything. They're the first people to take you in and say, what do you need help with? It's such a good community. So if you want to get involved in those things, I highly recommend it.
Yes, travel, we're full of a bunch of givers. So I would say my top 3 communities would be 2 that we named. One's Wanderful, because they're absolutely wonderful. It's my favorite.
I'll give you all of your $5 after the show, by the way. Thank you.
Number 2, from being in this network, I learned about Travel Massive, which is an amazing group. But one of my favorite is No Madness, and because I'm a woman of color, I wanted to be able to also connect with other people that looked like me, and we can share some similar stories that maybe other people in those other groups couldn't relate to, which is why I love Wanderful, because I'm a woman, so I'm always around something that I can relate to. So those would be my 3.
Well, and you all talked about collaboration, which I think is such a great part of this, because when you collaborate, when you have content, oftentimes that means guest posting, having another person write for you, having another person share your stuff. And so it really does amplify your business to work with other people. And I was curious for all of you, like, have there been other things that you've seen that have really helped your business, if it's been really a business or just your blog in general, to grow? What are some of those things that have really pushed you forward?
One thing I'd say is attending different conferences. There's so many different ones, even just within the travel writing and vlogging industry, that you can attend. I know I've been to a few of the TBEX events, which are global events, WITS, the Women in Travel Summit through Wanderful. And these are amazing places for many different reasons. So they give great workshops, so great knowledge, right? So you understand like how to do different techniques or work different ways, and those are really helpful. But also then just the person you're sitting next to may be doing something you want to do, or they're sharing their ideas with you. So that building that community, you go to that event one year, you might go back the next year, and oh my gosh, I met you last time, and suddenly you're great friends that you can keep in touch with, sharing ideas and helping to grow that community. So I feel like that's something that really has helped me out, is attending some of these conferences, both for the workshops you get there and the network and the community you make.
Yeah, just piggybacking off of what you said, definitely attending the conferences and things like that. And also because it's a creative space and everybody's doing their own thing, like at Travel Talk, I've met people that have brought me on for their podcast, something I don't do, or I'm not as much of a writer, so having guest bloggers on my page, just kind of filling in the gaps on other people's stuff. Sometimes it's an editor, that I don't care for editing, so having a producer that edits. So really tapping into other people's niches and just building friendships. And that really does happen at the conferences and events like this. So
I would say the same thing, but adding on, focus on being a giver when you're going out there. So I'm constantly, when I'm meeting people, I'm not just thinking about what I can learn from them or what I can get from them or how this will benefit me, but how can I help you? And the more people that you help, the more that they're going to remember you so that they can turn around and help you too. So I do a lot of partnering with nonprofit organizations and just trying to give back and pour into these communities, because if I have a network that I can amplify their message, it comes back to you 10 times fold.
So I do have a few more questions, but I also want to be cognizant of time. And so what I want to do is just get like a little temperature check of how many questions there are in the audience. So if you think you might have a question, can you just raise your hand so I can get a sense? Okay, so we have a couple of questions. So let me do one more, and then we also have a giveaway. And then after the giveaway, we'll do Q&A. Sound good? So the question is, and this one is popular actually. We had somebody come up in Chicago, and as closing time, which is, you will see at the end of the show, they play closing time really loudly. As closing time was going on, he was like, wait, how do you make money? And we went, oh God. So let's talk about that front and center. Do you even focus on making money for your various organizations? And second of all, what are some of the ways you do that? Can you actually survive on a business built from a blog, or is that not a focus of yours? So tell the audience a little bit about the different strategies that you use and the different things that you try to monetize.
Okay, I'll go first. I haven't gone first yet. So I started off, as I shared, doing network marketing for a travel club. So I was monetizing my social media and I didn't even realize it. I was just posting the fun that I was having because I was going on all of their trips. So partnering with a company that has an affiliate program, so that every time you're sharing what you're doing with them or through their products and services, you can make a commission back. From being a part of joining WITS, I learned this thing called pitching, and actually going to the brands myself and saying, hey, this is my following, this is my demographics, this is what I have, and I would like to partner with you. And you present to them what you would like to do with them during that collaboration. You guys can start off with it being free travel, which is where I started off it, but then it can go into being paid collaborations. Doing the travel went on into me partnering with brands that had nothing to do with travel, because I didn't realize I was sharing a lifestyle. I love being conscious. I love being sustainable. So you can partner and pitch brands and share with them and actually grow with them on a long-term basis, because as they have new products that comes out, they will work with you on multiple different campaigns.
I feel like oh gosh, we got a hot mic. Yeah, this is a loud mic. I feel like everybody that I've talked to in this space makes money in very different ways, so, which is good and bad. I think sometimes we all are looking for the golden answer. But for me, I started with free travel for sure, but the biggest mistake I made was not treating it as a business and just spending because I wanted to do these things for probably way too long. And then realizing, video takes a long time, and unfortunately my landlady doesn't accept favors. I don't know. So I had to figure out a way, and for me it was tourism boards, because at the end of the day they're getting a product from me. They get the video sent to them, but then also finding different niches that set you apart. So like I recently just got my drone license, and that's a way for me to have a different kind of side business. And if I go on a press trip that's an unpaid trip, monetizing in different ways, using affiliate links, selling a drone footage later, just really getting creative in different ways to make money, because I don't think it's one answer. I've made some from social media. Is that enough to live off of? No. I make some off of YouTube. Is that enough to live off of? No. But you kind of put these things together and you get creative, and then once you figure out which one is working the most, you double down on that. Whatever's moving the needle is what your focus should be. So if it's affiliates, go with that. If it's tourism boards, go with that. If it's selling your photography, I've met a lot of people that do it in different ways, but yeah, I think for me, tourism boards and video footage.
see if this, oh yeah, much better. I'll kind of give the other side of the coin on that, whereas for me it is, I wouldn't say I make as much money from my blog. Mine is more of a, I do have a 9-to-5, so it's hard for me to put in 100% of my time to my blog at this point. But I do it because it's something that I'm passionate about and I love it. And I have made some money through like affiliate links, so basically having links on my blog that if someone clicks on them, purchases something, I would get a percentage of that back. And then through some other partnerships as well. But for me, what's good is that I'm learning what I can do to make money if and when it comes to that point in my life where I do want to make that more of a priority, where perhaps I will spend more time on the blog, traveling, something like that, where I can use that to help fund me. So I think it's amazing, and it's something that I'm looking to learn more about in the years to come. So for now, it's not my major source of income, but I do have some income from that and do want to continue making that and growing that in the future.
We both had other ideas.
Stage is yours.
Really quickly, one creative way that I did when I first started out was I worked for music festivals. I emceed some festivals, but if I didn't MC a festival, I would contact them and ask if they needed a brand ambassador to just come and make, $15, $18 an hour, work the festival for 3-4 days, and that would pay for me to stay an extra couple of days to shoot out of pocket. So there's creative ways to find jobs that are temporary in places that you want to go to as a way to get you there, and that gives you the content to get started.
All right, so great minds think alike. So yes, brand ambassadorships, doing things local. So I started making more money doing what I'm doing when I started to play in my own backyard. Meaning I started to talk about Los Angeles. I started to talk about California. In the beginning, I wanted to fly to Indonesia and do the same work, but that's not where the money was. The money was right at home. So if you're really trying to do something, go and explore your own backyard, because people that are all across the world, they want to come to Los Angeles, they want to come to California, and it'll be more cost effective for you to do it here versus having to get up and go across the country to do it, or across the world.
And speaking of going across the country, we still have a giveaway to do. And let me tell you about it. And thank you, those are all really great answers. And I do want to have time for questions because I know there's some from the audience. But I also want you to know, so a few of them, not a paid placement, but they did mention the Women in Travel Summit, or we call it WITS. That is our annual conference for travel bloggers and influencers. We also have a lot of members of the industry that come. We had a record 10 men that came, so men in the audience, don't be afraid, you can come to WITS too. We're an awesome environment. Our next one is in Kansas City. We move around every year. Tickets are at like $400 right now. But one of you under your seat has a free ticket. So I think we should all take a look right now. See if it's under your seat. It should be taped to the bottom of your seat. See if you can find it. Yay, you found it! Congratulations! So I hope you can join us in Kansas City. That is a free ticket for you to come and build your blog, build your business. You can also share with a friend if you want, but I think you're gonna love it, so you should definitely come. And now, let's do Q&A. We've got about 10 minutes left before the end. So questions, I'll do a little bit of Vanna White over here. Switch the microphone around. Here you go.
Thank you so much for this. Your answers were awesome. So I have a channel that I've put to rest for a little while because of the time. 20 hours to edit a video, 12 to 20 hours depending how perfectionistic I'm being. And people are like, hey, you should shoot this. And I get nauseous because it's like, oh my God, I haven't edited this. And so I'd love to hear between the bloggers, and forgive this word, the vloggers, workflow, how you manage your time, do you hire people, interns, anything. Thank you for time management.
I have a video editor because sometimes I just don't have the time to do it, and if I do, I partnered with someone here locally in Los Angeles that can be of some assistance. So I'm all about collaborating. So in exchange, he doesn't charge me the most outrageous prices, but in exchange, I'm constantly sending him referrals from all of my friends. And then when I'm booking a project and there's a budget in there for some additional assistance, then I'm making sure that he's on board. I met him from friends. It was just through word of mouth, just networking.
I was a one-woman show. I did it all myself for probably 4 years. Even now, still, I have a producer who comes to me when I can afford to pay her. If it's a paid trip, I bring her and she helps me edit. But really, it's just, I get up at 5 a.m. and I edit until I gotta go deliver groceries or work at a restaurant. Like, I've done all these other side jobs as a way, which I have a degree, I've had 9-to-5 jobs, but I choose to do this. So I will deliver groceries, I will, you know, hustle and teach line dance or do whatever side jobs I need to do. And then in the off hours, and I put it on a schedule. The night before, I go over hour by hour what I'm doing the next day so that I don't get stuck watching TV, because it's really easy. But it's just discipline and it takes a long time, but little by little. And if you're blogging, the best tip I ever heard was batch work. So spend 2 days, write out blogs nonstop so that you have them to schedule out. And if you can do videos quickly, then you batch work videos and then release them over time. So.
Yeah, very similar. I was going to say, and just knowing that in the beginning, especially when you're starting out, you may not have the budget to hire somebody, so you are doing it yourself. And like she was saying, you like really getting your schedule together and planning that. And just know that that video that took you 20 hours to edit, the next time is going to take you 18, and it's going to go down to 10. So you got to put that you know, painful work in the beginning, and it's going to get easier. You're going to learn tricks. You're going to learn people to talk to, and it's going to get better. But keeping that schedule together.
Hi ladies, thanks so much for being here today. So I've got 2 questions. What do you use? Do you use WordPress for blogging, or what platforms do you use? And then my second question is, what gear do you use? What's your cameras, any audio? What are your tips for that?
For the blog, mine is WordPress blog. I did hire someone to help me with the design. I wanted to get something a little nicer than I would have been able to do on my own. So I did hire someone to do a design for me, but everything is done on WordPress. I manage that myself.
And that's WordPress.org, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's
yes.
what you use.
Yeah, exactly. And then for gear, you said, right? When I travel, I have a Nikon I take with me, a Nikon DSL. But honestly, the way the world is today in technology, so often I just pull my phone out because it's easier to run around with, but I like to have my little bit bigger camera there on the side just in case I want to get something a little bit crisper or a different edge to it. Yeah, it's kind of the main thing that I use. I don't do a whole lot of videos, so I've not invested in a lot of video technology yet.
For me, for video, I used my iPhone the first 3 years. I think that's probably the most intimidating thing too, is everybody thinks you need crazy gear. You really don't, the way that they make phones now. But now I use a Canon G7X Mark II, which is a nice little handheld. If my producer comes, she has the whole DSLR. We use lav mics that are, you can buy like a little one that plugs into your phone or plugs into your camera. So we have all sorts of little gear, GoPros, and then I have a DJI Spark for the drone. And my blog is on Squarespace, but the verdict's out on that one because it's more of a landing page.
So I started off with the Canon 7D, but unfortunately when I was in Paris, I got robbed and I had a lot of equipment with me. So my Sony and I became really good friends, and I thought that I needed 2 cameras, but my Sony does the beauty work of both. But when I'm not using that, I use my digital camera. For photos, I like my Pixel, but for video, then I'll go over to my son's iPhone because it takes way better video quality. But literally, you can start with your phones. They're amazing, and then moving on to a camera that's not going to cost you. You do not need to get the highest paid price camera out there to go and do what we're doing today.
Ladies, thanks for the information. It's great feedback. I'm just curious as to what single place have you guys gone to that just absolutely peeled your cap back?
That's always such a hard question because they're all so different. Iceland was amazing, and so was Zion National Park. That's probably my favorite national park. For me, a lot of it's based on the adventures I do. So I just went skydiving into a winery, and it's in Lake Chelan, Washington. It's the only place you can do that, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, it's so different based on each place. So I don't know, but a couple places.
I agree with her. So I've been to about 25 countries so far, and out of those, I fall in love all over again every place that I go. But the one place that sticks out, and a lot of people go, well, why? Is India. And I'm going to say India because I brought my son with me, and that was my first time going on a solo trip as a mother. And he was only 7 years old at the time. So I was solo, but I also had to protect this young little man that was growing up. But he came back, and the way that he spoke to people, and they said, oh, you went to the armpit of the world. And he goes, no, you haven't been there. It's actually really great people. And it changed him. So it made it my most memorable place because we got to see so much beauty, but he got so much out of it when he came back too.
And I'm gonna say the same thing as choose your favorite child. Like, so many of the places I've been have been really amazing to me, but I'd say one that really changed my mind and my perception, and I didn't know what to expect when I went there and came back so in love with it was, I know it is not the best place to visit right now, but Lebanon was amazing. I spent time in Beirut. I spent time in Beirut with a friend's family, so I was living in their home, eating their food. They took me around the entire country, the countryside, the beaches, the people, the food, the nightlife. I loved it. So I know there's some, you always have to be a little careful when you go, but it's amazing. And the people, just to tell a quick story, I was talking to one of my friends who lived there, and she was talking about the war and how things were really difficult, and didn't know if you could leave your house. And she said, yeah, so we were on the way to the beach. And I'm like, wait a minute, it was wartime and you went to the beach? And she's like, you got to keep living. And she's like, yeah. And that's the mentality. Everyone's like, we got to keep going and living and having a great time even when things are a little stressful. So that's my plug.
Okay, I just got alerted that they're gonna start playing closing time in about 1 minute. Does anyone on this side have a quick question?
Yes, I just wanted to know, where can I find each of your individual blogs and things to follow, on Instagram or anything? Is it on the card or over there? Okay.
Yes,
I'll just
there's a photo up there.
Mine's also on YouTube. It's Monica Go's show on everything, but my show is on YouTube at Monica Go Show. So.
And we'll all be here for anyone else who has questions, so feel free to come on up to the stage. But can I get a big round of applause for our panelists today? Thank you all so much for being here.